Oh, hey. Didn't realize this thing was on. Sorry about that long break, guys. But with that being said, I'm back. Hopefully for a little bit longer. Who knows with life and stuff. But that being said, hey everyone, welcome back to the Cunning Cardmates channel. I apologize, it's been a hot minute since my last video. The college semester just started, life has been lifing, and motivation to crank out a few YouTube videos has been a tad bit of a struggle, but I'm back, I'm here now, and I wanted to try to get back into the swing of things with something very interesting. So today, we're going to be talking about one of the new commander decks that I've been running. I briefly talked about it in my Lorwyn Eclipse video, which is going to be right there. The nice, beautiful banner, ooh, pretty, of Maralen Fae Ascendant. And as usual, if y'all really enjoy this content, feel free to drop a like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, because hopefully I'm better about being on top of making videos, but outside of that, let's get into it. So, starting off, Maralen Fae Ascendant is a 2-colorless Sultai commander with flying and is a 4/5. Her ability is that whenever you cast a elf or fairy spell, exile the top 2 cards from an opponent's library. You may cast a spell equal to or less than the number of elves or fairies that you control without paying its mana cost. And you can only do that once per turn. The casting the spell part, not the exiling the top 2 cards of your library. Maralen is what a lot of people would consider a tribal commander, which tribal decks are decks built around a certain theme, such as like creature type or mechanic. On top of that, Maralen is a commander much like Prosper, Gonti, or Nathan Drake, where you get to cast cards from the top of your opponent's library. And if you ever had the mild displeasure to play against those decks, as I have, let me tell you, it is really fun to be able to use that against someone that's been doing it against you. Now, whenever it comes to the deck composition, I decided, obviously, to use a good chunk of elves and fairies from Lorwyn Eclipsed, because I felt it would just be fun to try to use a lot of these cards. And yes, I did build this deck right before I played Lorwyn Eclipsed, but it is really fun, and some of the cards that are standouts in the deck from Lorwyn Eclipsed are the Bitterbloom Blossom, High Perfect Morcant, and Tristan. However, that is not to pretend like I didn't pull in some of the more famous elves from MTG's history. I included such marvels as Tegwyl, the Duke of Splendor, Lathril, Blade of the Elves, Elvish Archdruid, and Arwen, Weaver of Hope. My main goal with these was to have cards that would be able to do a solid job of beefing up the stat lines of all my elves and fairies, so I could just swing out with a bunch of beefy creatures. And on top of that, I included different cards that played into playing specific creature types, such as Herald's Horn, Dawnblessed Pendant, Banner of Kinship, and Chronicle of Victory. On top of that, I do have Maskwood Nexus in my deck, which is very helpful to make sure that basically playing any creature will count towards one of those specific creature types. This deck is a bracket 3 solely because I have Rhystic Study in there. And the reason I decided I wanted to include it into my list was I just thought it would be fun to throw around having that card in the deck, because I've seen so many different blue decks that have that card and wanted to try playing it myself. However, in all the games I've played with that deck, I have never drawn Rhystic Study once, which is, ironic. But I do have in the deck as well Black Market Connections, which is a really fun black card that is also just a commander staple that lets you play with your greed of like, how much life do I want to lose to get myself more treasure, another body on the field, or drawing a card. And in fact, in one of the games I played against my girlfriend, that Black Market Connections was the only damage I took the entire game, which was really fun. One of the major things I do think that is missing from this deck, and if y'all want to try to mess around with it, this deck, as usual, will be down in the description, where you can see every card that I have listed besides just the few I've named. But I believe one of the bigger things that I needed to include was potentially doing graveyard recursion, since I do have multiple cards such as Tristan that play with like milling my own deck and putting things into my graveyard, and it is usually helpful to be able to pull creatures back out from your graveyard. However, I will say, outside of that very tiny thing, I think this deck runs really smoothly and it's just a lot of fun. Now, if you did watch either my Lorwyn Clips video or my video going over commander tips, it has been a while, I understand, so it's fine if y'all don't remember, but I haven't really built a commander deck myself until this one. And it was just a lot of fun using a lot of the tips I highlighted in the commander video to build the deck whole cloth from myself, which I did mostly through just looking at Scryfall of the entire set list for Lorwyn Eclipse, pulling a good chunk of those creatures in, while also looking at EDH Rec to look at some of the higher synergy cards to make sure that I can get all that. And let me be honest, it's a lot of fun to actually be able to build these decks yourself. It is a lot more fun, and you get to feel a lot of pride in this deck doing well compared to playing a deck that you just found on like EDH Rec or Moxfield that you took down and are playing yourself, and it allows you to want to figure out a lot more problem solving, and I find it really fun. This deck is also entirely proxied only because a lot of the cards I wanted to include I personally don't own, and it would be really expensive for me to buy all of them. And I am a avid supporter of proxying as long as you aren't, making a EDH deck that is just not fun to play against. If you're doing just like a bracket 2 or 3 thing, I find it fine, especially with how expensive everything is nowadays. I won't knock people for spending $10 to print out cards, but it is, a slightly bit of a crutch, but it's also fine. And if you are able to find decent card stock to do it, no one will really be able to know the difference between actual Magic card or proxy until take them out of the sleeve. But after going through this experience of building the Maralen deck from scratch, I would highly recommend to all my viewers, you beautiful, beautiful people, especially you in the back there, looking good as usual, that you just sit down and find a commander that you just like, and then just do your best to come up with something. It's fine if that deck isn't going to be a bracket 4 that's just gonna roll in and take names and make everyone at the table hate you. It's perfectly fine to just do something that's just fun and goofy, because at the end of the day, it's a lot more fun to do something where you have a deck you just feel proud of instead of something that's just overly competitive. I will say, later down the line, I have made a Captain America deck that I want to play a few games with before I make, one of these videos. But you can look forward to that, and if you are interested to seeing the Captain America deck, you can go ahead and go to my Moxfield. I have the entire deck list there right now, but, can wait until the foreseeable future when I make another Commander breakdown, breaking down Steve Rogers being, Voltron. But outside of that, that is more or less all I really wanted to briefly talk about. I apologize for the slight break in videos. It's been, rough. And I want to let y'all know I'm going to be trying my best to get back into the swing of weekly uploads. I know I said that last year and kind of fell off that train a little bit, but I will do my best to stay on top of things and bring y'all content that you do enjoy. And that being said, thank y'all for watching. I hope this was entertaining. If, as usual, if you enjoyed it, drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It will help. And if there's a deck that you own that you'd like me to try out, leave a comment down below. I'll happily play it and make a video about you and your commander deck, because it would be fun and I want to try to interact a bit more with my community. But that's basically about it. So thank y'all for watching, and bye.